The service provides an opportunity to voice any of your texts, including articles, reports, separate chapters or entire book in a sequence, no more than 30,000 characters at a time. The name of the MP3 file is formed from the first 20 characters of the text. Save the generated MP3 file to your device for storing and future use offline. Please select language and voice. Adjustable speed, pitch and pauses between sentences and paragraphs. Replace this text with your. Lena had barely stepped back from the table when the wealthy woman seized her moment to continue performing for her friends. She lifted the menu between two fingers as though it were something fragile or beneath her and gave an exaggerated sigh. Honestly, she said in German, loud enough for half the room to hear, "Wie schwer kann es sein? Try and fake desserts to serve Iron. How hard can it be to serve 3 simple desserts?" Her friends laughed again, some politely, others eagerly feeding off her smugness. They were dressed in sleek designer outfits, each of them dripping with the kind of subtle, ruthless wealth that didn't need to announce itself but absolutely loved to. The woman's bracelets clinked each time she gestured, her diamond ring flashing like a tiny spotlight as she tapped the menu. She jabbed her finger toward an item she had already ordered, then mispronounced the Italian terms with a dramatic flourish. "What is this nonsense?" she said, still in German. "These fancy names are ridiculous." She probably can't pronounce them either. Lena remained still, keeping her professional smile in place. Internally, she felt the sting sharp not because of the insult to her ability but because of the casual cruelty behind it. The woman wasn't upset about the menu. She wasn't even upset about service. She simply enjoyed belittling people she thought were beneath her. One of the friends leaned closer to the woman and whispered, "Maybe she doesn't understand anything we're saying." This time, they didn't even bother lowering their voices. Another chimed in, "Not a 1/4 really knecht. She barely speaks English properly," waving a dismissive hand in Lena's direction. Lena's jaw tightened for just a second, so quick it was nearly invisible. But everything else about her stayed composed, her posture straight, her hands relaxed, her voice steady as she quietly checked the table's water glasses, appearing unfazed. "Unglaublich," the wealthy woman scoffed again, flipping her hair over her shoulder. "Der Service hier ist schrecklich." Unbelievable. "The service here is terribly." Her tone sharpened like she wanted the entire restaurant to agree with her. A few nearby diners turned their heads, unsure whether to sympathize or cringe. The woman's friends nodded as if they were her personal cheering squad, their laughter hollow and forced, and Lena stood there, letting the scene unfold, listening, observing, waiting. The calm inside her wasn't weakness, it was choice. She knew what she would say when the moment arrived. She knew exactly how to shut this down with grace sharper than any insult. She just needed to choose the perfect moment. "If you'd like, I can expand scene 3 next." Claire and Mr. Kazimov continued speaking rapidly, their exchange smooth and animated. She asked about his preferences, recommended dishes based on regional flavors he mentioned, and clarified the chef's preparations with an ease that made the investor relax deeper into his chair. He laughed a booming, warm sound whence she joked about how Western menus often mistranslated traditional Central Asian spices. The hovering servers slowly backed away, mesmerized. One whispered to another, "She works double shifts and studies on break, I heard." Another replied, "I thought she just watched documentaries." As Clara knelt slightly to point out a detail on the menu, Adrian Lockyer, who had been half-heartedly checking emails, finally lowered his phone. His gaze locked on her, eyes narrowing in surprise. He had been annoyed earlier, impatient even, but now something unfamiliar tugged at him. The businessman looked toward Adrian and beamed. "Your staff is remarkable," he said in accented but clear English. "Her guidance makes this place feel like home." He placed a hand over his heart in gratitude. Adrian blinked, caught off guard. "She broken bara." "Yes," he managed, unsure how else to respond. Clara didn't even turn toward him. She remained focused on her guest, professional and calm. But Adrian couldn't look away. For the first time all evening, the Billionaire CEO was no longer the most commanding presence in the room. When the initial ordering was done, Clara stepped back, allowing Mr. Kazimov to sip his tea while waiting. Adrian rose from his table and approached, straightening his suit jacket with a practiced tug. "You," he began, his voice slower and less certain than usual. speak Kazakh. Claire finally looked at him. Her expression was neutral, polite but distant to the same way he had treated her earlier. Yes, she said simply. Adrian cleared his throat. And a broken bar, you learned it where? University. Linguistics program, Claire replied. I take courses at night. And you speak more than that? She nodded. Russian fluently, Mandarin well enough for conversation, some German. Behind them, the VIP investor gestured happily for Claire to return. Please, he said to both of them, indicating two chairs. We talk business. She will help. Adrian hesitated. He never conducted meetings with staff seated at the same table, but refusing would insult a key investor. So he pulled a chair out stiffly and sat, feeling strangely exposed. Claire sat as well, completely at ease, hands folded neatly on her lap. Over the next 20 minutes, Adrian watched her guide the dialogue with quiet mastery. She translated nuances, caught cultural subtleties he never would have noticed, and even helped navigate a misinterpreted phase that could have derailed the meeting. Each time she switched between languages, Adrian felt the metaphorical ground shift beneath him. He'd dismissed her earlier, yet here she was saving a business deal he'd been working on for months. And every moment made his earlier arrogance burn hotter in his memory. The meeting ended on a high note. Mr. Kazimov stood, shaking Adrian's hand firmly. Your company shows promise, he said. Then, turning to Claire, he bowed slightly. And your talent made everything possible. Thank you. When he left, silence settled between Claire and Adrian. Other staff members kept their distance, sensing an unfamiliar tension. Adrian remained standing, one hand in his pocket, the other tapping lightly against the table. Claire, he said finally. His voice lacked its usual sharpness. A broken bar. Oh, you an apology. She lifted the tray she had abandoned earlier, holding it like a shield. For what, exactly? For being dismissive, he admitted, jaw tightening as if the words were physically difficult. What you did tonight. A broken bar. It was extraordinary. And I didn't see you clearly before. I judged you without cause. Claire's expression softened only slightly. People usually judge by what's easiest, she said. Uniforms. Roles. First impressions. He swallowed. I'd like to make it right. Maybe talk over coffee? Or she shook her head gently. Maybe another time. I still have tables waiting. She stepped past him, walking toward the dining room with effortless grace, as if the entire evening hadn't changed the balance of an entire negotiation. Adrian watched her go, a woman he hadn't noticed an hour ago and now impossible to ignore. For the first time in a long while, the billionaire CEO felt something unfamiliar but sobering. He had been taught a lesson and he wasn't the one in control anymore.